Welcome to Increase, where it is my task to increase, illustrate, and inundate you with information, knowledge, and overall help cause you to think. And I'm your host, Alpheus Gibbs Sr. Good afternoon, everybody. How's everyone doing? This is Increase. Hey, let's start it off right. You got that right. Let's start it out good. Let's start it off super. This is episode 13 of Increase. And so I want to jump into a topic. I'm going to preface this by saying that I'm not a psychologist, neither have I a degree in any of the sort. But I thought this was to be interesting topic of discussion. Just get you something to think about on this wonderful Monday. Hey, what's happening? What's happening, everybody? So our topic is not a mind issue. And we're going to be dealing with nervous system psychology, right? Nervous system psychology. And again, I'm not a psychologist. I don't have a degree in it whatsoever, but I thought the concept and ideas behind it was very much so interesting because it kind of answers some things that I took on personally, that I thought about personally, that I feel like would be something that we all could learn from. And I could just put the information out there to you, and then you can do with it as you see fit. And so the whole preface behind it is that a lot of the things that we have been taught, to be a mind issue is really our body's natural way of responding to events that's happening around us. For example, there are people who, when they are nervous, they naturally begin to sweat or they begin to laugh. And so if you're a person who are possibly, upset or just not in the mental space, then you begin to ask the question, like, are they making fun of me? Are they making light of the situation? But really, it's not a conscious mental reaction, but it's really the nervous system's way of responding to the events that's going on. And so I want to read something to you, and we're going to be kind of going back and forth with reading from various articles that I've been reading and just journals that I've been reading, because I want to give you guys an overall basis of what is that's going on, so that then you can go and research it yourself in a more greater depth if you so like to. But it in essence says the mindset works engages only the cognitive prefrontal cortex part of your brain. However, stored stress responses and trauma are stored in the limbic and nervous system. Therefore, cognitive approaches won't work in creating lasting change. And so that hit me because I'm a person who oftentimes I do better with working with systems. I do better working with the routine. But there are times in my life and throughout my day wherein I may go astray from that. And so I'm always looking for ways to be better at what I'm doing, be better at pastoring, being better at a preacher, being better at a husband, being better at a father, so on and so forth. And so a lot of times I find myself falling short in many areas in my own personal life. And I begin to, you know, look at the normal avenues that are oftentimes brought up when those things occur. And I really began to just look for ways to fix this or augment this in some kind of way so that I can be a better help and be a better person. And so I want to share with you some of the things that I've come across so that you can begin to look at that. And so it began, this is coming from a young lady who's a psychologist. Her name is Laura Lorenzo, excuse me. And she's a woman who, again, just kind of put it out there in social media and in some of her writings. And so I just want to, again, address something that was said, um, that cognitive approaches won't work in creating lasting change. And I believe a lot of us, we're looking for that lasting change in our life. We're looking for not just the, okay, this is starting to work, but then life happens and it throws you off, and then you find yourself trying to regain the momentum that you had, or you're trying to regain the focus that was once there. Because where there is no discipline, motivation is only but that which is used to substitute that missing element. So we want to create or find ways that we can create lasting change. And so I'm always again looking for that, and try to make sure that I am having healthy relationships around me, that I am in healthy relationships, I'm cultivating healthy relationships, and that they are long lasting, that I'm not doing this so that we can mitigate some kind of mistake that was made, knowing that if I don't change my behavior or the situation, then we're going to find ourselves back in it. You know what I'm saying? So we really want to make sure that we're trying to, create those long lasting changes. And so, in essence, what she says is that, because we struggle with those things, we struggle with trying to create those lasting things, consistency, focus, even long term planning. It becomes very exhaustive. That's true. That is true. And someone wrote, I guess it depends on what type of lasting change you are looking for. Absolutely. Because there's so many different areas in our life that we are looking for long lasting change. Some things really are just temporal because of what it is. As you raise your children, for instance, there are things that you're going to be constant no matter how old they get. But then there are also areas and places that's going to change because they're growing and they're getting older and they're maturing and they're experiencing life. But those long lasting changes are my approaches to the attitudes of other individuals, or how I view myself as I transition. It's one thing we oftentimes, when we talk about like generational wealth, for instance, and we talk about having all of these things, whether it's land, money, whatever, but we really don't think about there has to be some long lasting changes within ourselves, in our mind state, as well as our approaches to life. our viewpoint on key topics, not just taxes or political views or religious views, but really narrowing things down as to how you're going to leave what for your loved ones, or what kind of legacy you want to leave, what sort of impact you want to have in your own community. Though you may move in, to a nice suburb area or whatever, you want to make sure that even where you leave, that you are giving back and that you are helping, bring others to where you are, and so that they can even exceed where you are. Because they always say it's lonely at the top, but it's only lonely because you didn't reach back and help someone else get to where you are. But our nervous system, and I learned this in massage therapy, that our muscles have memory. And I've shared this on this podcast before, how, when you get a massage, for instance, and it's really good, your body remembers that. Your muscles, your nervous system remembers that. And so it's always looking for that next person, or even the same massage therapist, to hit those key areas so that the body can begin to release the stress or the anxiety. And I believe that as we begin to kind of just divulge ourselves into this a little bit, that we want to really take in that a lot of the times in our life, it was not that we were making cognitive choices or decisions, but it was really our body's way of reacting. Again, like I said, like nervous laughter, or when someone hits you and you hit them back. It's not even it's like we call it a reflex, but it's really your body's way of defending itself. You didn't really cognitively think about it. You just went into action. Even crying, a lot of times, even our subconscious mind begins to replay things that our cognitive mind may not even realize. And you find yourself crying, and you're like, I don't know why I'm crying, but I just am. I'm sad or whatever. And it is because of those things that our nervous system is reacting to current or even past trauma. So then the question becomes, what do I do with this information? What is it that you are portraying to me, Alpheus? What are you sharing with us? That more likely than not, we spend more of our time reacting from a non-cognitive position than we are from a cognitive position. Because when you think about how even our mind works, a lot of times we connect past traumas with current situation. And so because a person does something that reminds us of someone in the past, we relate those two instances together, and then the body begins to react. And yes, that is a slight way of saying that, cognitively or mentally, we are reflecting. And so by way of doing that, then we are kind of, you know, thinking about it, having a mindset behind it. But the real issue is that you're not obviously you're not always trying to, but they just happen to connect themselves together. And so as much as we would like to walk away from old things, until we have developed in ourselves a pattern in which we have, I don't want to say erased or eradicated, but we have in essence answered questions from our past, we will continuously walk in the paths of old ways until those things have been walked out and been answered in some kind of way. We there are three levels to our responsiveness, and fight, flight, or freeze. We always heard of two, but never the third one. But you're either going to fight your way through it, you're either going to flight, kind of leave, or you're going to freeze like a deer caught in headlights. Yes, your body does react to an emotion, and it's because of that thing. Then we need to allow ourselves to grow and mature to the place where we're not immature in our emotion. In other words, I'm not governed by it. I'm not led by it. I recognize my emotion, and as well as I even give it a voice, but I do not give it the voting right in order for my body to move. As much as that sounds very easy, it's also very difficult because it requires a level of training, mental training as well as physical training, to get yourself out of that habit and out of that routine of reactive way of movement. Um, she goes on to write something that I began to just really just found just phenomenal, and I want to read it to you. Um, and it basically just says it like this. She says, taking swift action in your business from a place of clarity that is also in line with your deepest values, perfectionism, hyper interdependence, the ability to rest or slow down, the need to control, emotional ups and downs, hopelessness, apathy, or a feeling of stuckness is because of a state of your nervous system or a person's nervous system who you may be dealing with. She says, in order to create lasting change for yourself or for someone else you're helping, she said, you need to go deeper than the mindset work. You need to stabilize the nervous system through gently and slowly releasing stored stress and responses, stabilizing your cortisol levels, and rewiring your limbic system. And I thought that was powerful simply for the fact of it now takes the power out of the people that you may be dealing with and put it back into your hands. I'm in control of myself. A lot of times we want to give our bodily control over to other people, over to situations, over to decision making. And even though there are times in our life when we are in a place where we are only with limited information and you're reacting or you're making decisions off of that limited information, the name of the game is really taking ownership of whatever choice and decision you make, and really looking at the fact that whether it was an emotional response or whether it was a cognitive, I thought about this, I processed this, and I moved forward, that I begin to just say, no matter what, I'm taking ownership of it. But secondly, and more importantly, beyond any of that, is that a decision was made. And now I'm going to deal with it however which way it is, whether it is my mindset or whether it's a nervous system reaction. How do I get rid of, or how do I regulate my nervous system? How do I regulate when I'm in tight situations and circumstances? One book that I want you all to get is How to Influence Friends. And it's a longer title that I'll give it to you at the end of this podcast. But one of the things it talks about is before you go into a conversation, how to win friends and influence others, is that you have to start by deep breathing. And that is one of the ways that you get rid of some of the stress, is by deep breathing. Deep breathing causes the mind to begin to receive proper oxygen, but it also does something else. It causes the nervous system now to begin to function in a manner that it begins to be cooled off. When you are upset, for instance, you find yourself getting hot, getting flushed. And so that is the nervous system vibrating throughout your body, heating up your elements, but your blood isn't able to cool it down, and your lymphatic system isn't able to regulate the temperature, simply because you're upset, you're caught in an emotional position. And so as you begin to deep breathe, causing the body now to force itself to cool down, giving yourself a moment to think before you speak, but also for those of you who are like myself, causing you to now, before you overthink, you're making yourself sit down and be quiet. Because there's nothing like dealing with someone who is so in their emotion that they're just saying anything. Because once you release those words, you can't bring them back. Once you said something, call the person out of their name, accuse them of something, you can't bring those words back. But one way that you want to regulate your nervous system, get rid of stress, or cause your stress levels to go down, is by deep breathing. This is also one of the techniques used when it comes to meditating, is deep breathing. It literally centers the body, regulates the temperature within the body, but causes now your mind to come into kick into play so that you can begin to now think and begin to process what is taking place. The next thing you might also want to do, for those of you who are on your cell phones or always on an electronic device, is take a break from it. When you begin to feel yourself getting to that place, you might want to step back from that particular device, electronic device. Go out into nature. Go out and begin to walk, get some fresh air, drink water, those type of things, but mainly getting away from that electronic device. You may be saying, well, why? What does that have to do with anything? I find myself calming down by using my device. Well, the artificial light that is illuminating from that cell phone is affecting the way your body is reacting to that situation. Just like they found that call centers are a breeding ground for depression and anxiety, because those agents who are on the phone are listening to stressed out individuals about a particular item, but they also have no natural light. They are sitting in front of a computer for hours on end, then they get on their cell phone, and those lights, those artificial lights that is beaming on them and through their eye socket, is also contributing to their stress level, which is causing their body to crunch up and begin to fold over and cause their body to be out of homeostasis, causing it to come out of balance. And so what they tell them is, now there's studies that are out that are saying that those people who are in cubicles and things that in workplaces that does not get natural lighting, that they need to get to a place, or have multiple breaks so that they can go outside, that they can get natural sunlight. Those people who live up north, that, during the winter season, that vitamin D levels are at their lowest because it is too cold to go outside. So you're not getting the natural light that is needed. So we're starting to see studies that come out that suggest and that even point scientifically that your mental stress as well as your physical stress comes also from artificial lighting, and comes from sitting in the position for extended periods of time, which now makes the body to cause itself to be sick, that causes dementia. It really begins to work and plague on the mind and the body's functionality. So our nervous system, we know it causes us to have the nervous laughter, so on and so forth. But did you also know that your nervous system also regulates the releasing of the cortisol or the adrenaline? Cortisol is healing and also used for sleeping. Adrenaline, energy, metabolism, so on and so forth. You start to look at those things and really begin to correlate them. So now the question becomes, not on a mental level, but nervous systemly, am I in a stressful place because I'm not getting enough sun? I'm finding myself in places that is feeding the stress that my body is holding, more so than if I am going out into nature or going out riding in a car or whatever. Like, you need those things. Hey, so I wanted to share that with you all because, like, last week, for instance, we shared, and talked about just really how we can um, maneuver in our lives better, how we can truly be better individuals. And as we look at those things, and I want to share those things with you, even on a greater level, because I found myself, and I can only talk about me. I can't talk about you, but I talk about me. That when you are in a depression like state, the one thing you don't want to do is go around individuals. The one thing that you find yourself doing is blocking people off. But when you are in healthy relationships and when you are around others who are taking care of themselves, then you should, in essence, begin to pick up some of those habits like you pick up bad habits. And so, one of the better habits to pick up is self care and self love. And so, one of those things is really going out and taking care of yourself, pampering yourself, whether that's getting your hands or your nails done, or maybe even getting your hair, done. Um, Going to a park and going down the slide, laughing, going to a comedy show and really enjoying yourself, going to see a movie and not going in as a movie critic, but going in to enjoy it for what it is. And that's what we talked about, and that was in our work-life balance. But understanding that there has to be that balance, that our nervous system and a lot of what we're doing, we're having to reset our bodies, reset our minds, reset what we have been taught for years to be one thing, but it's actually something else. So, okay, two more things, and then I'll get out of your way because I know you're eating lunch and you're having fun. So, another thing is being is mindfulness. How we can de-stress our bodies, right? Not just on a mental level, but on a nervous system level. Being mindfulness, and that's really just saying being present in the moment, right? That is, in essence, some of the greatest things that you could ever do in a relationship is be present in that relationship. Feel whatever you feel, but allow yourself to allow that moment to be. Whether you're upset, okay, be upset, but allow that emotion to be there, flow, whatever. But that doesn't mean that you have to be reactive to it, or allow yourself to react to stresses and triggers that could be going on within it. So you're saying, well, man, the guy, oh, dude, how can I do that? Like, what's going on? How can I be mindful or have mindfulness in a stressed out situation? First, don't look at yourself as the person being attacked, but sit there and be the person who is listening. Allow yourself to almost simultaneously hear what they're saying, but also be the fly on the wall to understand what they're saying. Because a lot of times in stressful situations, we miss out on what is truly being said because we are more in our feelings and emotion than understanding what the person is truly saying behind it. And then we look at their body language and all that is around it, and how the tone of their voice and all of the communicative um, attributes to really begin to go, okay, well, this is what they're trying to say, instead of just really listening to the words, not just doing a word recognition, but really listening to understand where they're coming from, and then adding the other stuff to it. I'm being present in the moment. Present as in, I'm not trying to react to what you're saying, but I want to understand first. The Bible says that, a wise man thinks before he speaks. So I want to listen to what you're saying. I want to hear what you're saying, process what you are saying, because in the conversation and even in situations, there are going to be things that may remind us of past events. And if you link those two together, and then now your reaction to them is not going to be for that moment, but it's going to be linked to other pain that has happened in your life, and you're going to be going to attack that person and really miss what they're saying, or even punish them for things that they haven't done, because you transferred over that stress and that pain from the past to now. And then finally, how we deal with stress, how we can regulate our nervous system so that we can now be not only present, not only calm, but also non-reactive, is by affirmations. A lot of times, there are times things are happening is not a full reflection of ourselves, but it's a reflection of that person. So they may not feel that they're worthy of anything, but they'll tell you that you're not worthy, or that you're not this or you're not that. And again, a lot of times it could be true, but a lot of times it's not. And so our affirmations, our when you wake up in the morning, what are you saying to yourself? What are your morning prayers, or if you have them, what is the things that you are doing to fortify you being a better person, getting your mind and your body in line with itself, so that you can literally be there, and a person who is complete and whole, not a person who is under duress and very stressed, or a person who is just wandering throughout life. Where you're trying to create those lasting changes, and those lasting changes need to be um, worked out and worked through by many different modes and ways. Your approach to it can't just be on a psychological level, because even in psychology, and in your mind, there has to be some kind of action. So with everything that comes in that you may have read, you now also need to match it with action, and continue with those things until it becomes a habit, until you find yourself being able to do it without thinking. And then from there, add something else to it. Begin to view things from not just the person that is in the situation, but also from the outside looking in. It takes a person who has a desire to be better, and a true desire to grow and be in a healthy relationships, to really look at it from these angles and these ways. And no one said it's going to be easy, but it is going to be worth it. And you're going to find that as you begin to do these things, how much better your life is, how much better the people that you are around are. But then also, you really begin to discover more things about you, right? And you'll find yourself not pointing the finger at someone else who is going through something or who is doing something foolish, but you'll be able to reflect upon yourself, and not in a space of sadness, but you go, dang, I remember being like that. And you may be able to go over there to them and give them some advice that can help them come out of where they are. Because it's really all about, reach one, teach one. It's really about helping our fellow man as we help ourselves, as we grow and build and mature. It's really about sharing that information, because it doesn't no good to have it and not share it. And I wanted to bring this to you because this is my own journey. This is something that I'm working on a personal level, wherein how am I responding to the people who I pastor and I lead, or how am I reacting to things that my wife or my children are doing, or my siblings do? How am I reacting to people in the streets, or business partners, or what have you? These are some of the things that we have to take into account, but also begin to know that there is an answer to situations that you're in, or that you may have gone through. And no one, there's no one approach to everything. And I want to say to you who are on increase and everything, your stress that you are not giving a voice to, or not even wanting to recognize, it causes, low was it decreased digestion. It creates a lower immune system. It causes the body to react and maneuver in ways that it's not supposed to. That was one of the things that, as we went through this little situation globally, people got so depressed being inside their home, and having to wear a mask and all of these other things, that the fear and the stress began to lower their immune system. People who were normally of faith and were strong in their faith found themselves in a place where it was starting to get sketchy, and it was scary for them. And they begin to even question that they believe. But if I could encourage you that in the midst of all of that has taken place, you're still here, even though we lost many loved ones and friends. But now that you've gone through that, take a look back and begin to deal with those stresses, begin to deal with how you look at loneliness or how you look at your relationships, and begin to mitigate those things by working on them. Shine the light on it and begin to work through it. Unpack it so that your nervous system, when it comes and encounters something that may remind it of it, that it does not react in the same manner, that you don't find yourself going through another unnecessary traumatic experience. That you have at least 5 keys, 4 keys that you can use to regulate all of that. Deep breathing, taking breaks from electronic devices, being present, and then or using affirmations. All of these are tools, these are keys that can be used so that you can be a better person, that you can find yourself regulating your nervous track, and that you're not reactive but you're proactive. You're not in a place, in a position wherein now I'm either fight, flight, or freeze, but I know exactly what to do, how to do it, and able to be successful at it. I know this was a little short um increased podcast today, but I just wanted to share that little bit with you. I hope that you guys take some keys from it, that this increases you on the day. As you go through the rest of your day, the rest of this week, think about how you react to things, how your body maneuvers and moves. When someone says something cringy, do you feel a tightness in your chest, or something, butterflies in your stomach when you're around someone who you love? That's the body's way of reacting, and you didn't even think about it. So if your body reacts naturally without thinking about it, just think about how much more you could do when your body is in a position of thinking and caring. You know, how much more of a means that you would have to do what is needed and necessary. We're here to increase you in every which way possible. And I hope that this increases you today. I thank you guys so much for your time. I hope you have a fabulous Monday. Enjoy this beautiful weather. No matter if it's raining, snowing, or the sun is out, today is a beautiful and blessed, prosperous, anointed, whatever adjectives you want to add to your day. Yes, try to control your reactions, and definitely make sure that you take this knowledge, you take this little bit of information, and you add to it and share it with someone who you love, so that they themselves can be better at life. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys on Friday.